Knowing and learning the best heroes to play in any given meta could be great in order to win tons of games and get that sweet rank up. However, what could be even worse than that is playing heroes that are terrible in the meta and trying to learn them when it's really a waste of time and playing them could cost you tons of games. Here are the top 6 worst heroes in Overwatch that you should absolutely avoid learning and playing if you really want to win. What we're going to do is we're going to break down why each hero on our top 6 list is difficult to get value from and why they're not worth learning. Furthermore, let's express some ideas on where Blizzard could take the character to make it much easier to play in any given meta. Do you want in-depth guides telling you everything you need to know to improve? Then come give our website a shot. GameLeap.com has hundreds of guides over every character in the game to ensure that you're prepared for any meta. Every single guide is made by Grandmaster players, so you get the absolute best tips and strategies out there, all in the same spot. So what are you waiting for? Come check us out in the links down below. Let's just jump right into it. Kicking it off with number 6. Genji is the fallen Super Saiyan 3 DPS of Overwatch. Genji has been hit with multiple sizable nerfs in the past, but those have not been the true nail in the coffin for Genji. Characters that are problematic for Genji, like Moira, Brig, and Baptiste, have been perpetually added to the game, making Genji weaker. Also, while Genji has been getting constant nerfs, the power creep on characters like Mei and Reaper have left Genji far behind. With dive characters seeing an overall buff, Genji can be playable in some scenarios if you are a master at him, but he's in such a terrible state that it's honestly not worth putting the many hours it would take to learn him. If you can get consistent nano blades off and know the in and outs on how to close fights with it, Genji can definitely still do some work. However, there's too much downtime where you feel like you're just simply a blade bot where your only purpose is to build Dragon Blade. When the enemy plays an old school comp without many Genji counters, you can definitely whip out Genji on high ground oriented maps due to Genji's mobility. Genji could really benefit from some type of quality of life change that we're taking from him in the past. Perhaps reintroducing triple jump could be a slight buff that would help Genji get more value into many of these new and buffed characters. An alternate solution to that would just give an overall nerf to many of the other characters in the game. Overwatch has a serious power creep problem that I'm sure many of you have noticed in your games. Far too many buffs with not enough nerfs leaves the overall power pool of all the characters in the game way too high. Perhaps Genji should be the standard that is untouched, that everything else needs to be reeled back to. Moving along to number 5, Soldier is in our top 5 list of the worst characters in the game right now. Mr. Jack of all trades himself, Soldier is good at many things, but really, master of none. His overall damage is relatively weak, and lack of legitimate high burst damage makes it hard to confirm kills on him. Also, Soldier has no CC, making him unable to punish divers easily, and low shield break, making him really weak to shield based compositions. Essentially, there's so little composition Soldier is good in and good against. Every job he accomplishes, there's almost always a DPS that can do it better. That being said, if you are not mechanically amazing at Overwatch, perhaps you come from a different role or you're new to Overwatch in general, Soldier is an easy character to play and has multiple things, heal, sprint, making him forgiving for positional mistakes and also less reliant on your team. Just understand that at a certain skill level, you will 100% get more value out of a character like McCree or Ashe rather than Soldier. If we wanted Soldier to be much better, aside from the global nerf that we talked about before, Soldier could probably benefit from a damage increase to match the power creep of the game. Honestly, his damage is simply lackluster compared to the multitude of high damage sources around him due to all the buffed characters. Whether or not you nerf the overall power level of many characters in the game, or you up the damage of Soldier immensely, we would love to see Soldier back in the meta because he's never oppressive. Soldier's a character that never feels terribly frustrating to lose against, so it would be great if he could be one of the best DPS characters in the game. Unfortunately, this has not happened for a long time. Kicking off with number 4 on our top 6 list, Symetra is the 4th worst character in the game right now. Many of you might be thinking, Symetra? Really? She was so amazing just a little bit ago. This might be true, but unfortunately for Symetra, she was deemed too powerful for Blizzard and got nerfed multiple times hard. Multiple chain nerfs in a row have made the once top tier DPS crazy weaker than her past self. On top of this, with the nerfs to double shield and the buffs to other strategies, the best composition Symetra was played in and against will see far less play. Double shield is essentially the only reason that Symetra saw substantial play because she was really good against focusing double shield and she played really good with double shield. Essentially, while Sim can still get value, she is now more relegated towards non-meta and will most likely see no pro play without double shield. Unless your team or the enemy team are both playing the double shield mirror, Symetra will probably not be your best bet, and also there are probably other DPS you could pick that could do a better job. That being said, masters at teleportation use, like teleport bombing, can easily carry some games of Overwatch. Sim's potential is high if you understand her tempo, and whipping her out against certain comps like double shield on really advantage points like defensive chokes can definitely still win you many games of Overwatch. Symetra could probably benefit from another hypothetical character redesign, as it's clear that Blizzard does not want a character like Sem to be top of the meta. Keep in mind with this one, while I think that Symetra is still a pretty good DPS, most of your ranked games, she's going to be really hard to get the value that you want out of her. In the beginning, Sem was free wins against Double Shield, but now, because most people know how to play against it, they're not going to allow Sim to be unchecked, and also, there's a lot of different ways to punish a Sim. It's going to be really hard to get that value without the whole team working with you, or you getting a substantial pocket. For all these reasons, I think Sim is actually one of the worst characters in the game right now, and unless you've practiced substantially before, I really don't think she's worth learning and whipping out in your ranked matches. Moving on to the top 3 worst characters in the game, D.Va is the 3rd worst character in all of Overwatch. D.Va, the former best character in all of Overwatch, is now relegated to C tier at best. D.Va dominated metas consistently for the most seasons out of any other character in the game. However, now she's really not that powerful anymore. Even with her buff, the problem with D.Va is that there are simply other picks that do her job better, and her value is much weaker than it ever used to be. Even if you play Dive, often Monkey Hammond requires less sustain to keep up and has better utility. Most of what D.Va can shut down doesn't see that much play. Characters like McCree and Widow see far less play comparatively to something like Doom, Reaper, or Mei. Essentially, there's not really a place for D.Va, and the players who are skilled enough to extract her insanely difficult skill ceiling are often just better off playing another hero. That being said, in the right situation, D.Va can still shut down, carry, hit scan, and projectile DPS, and it's still one of the best characters in the whole game at shutting down a Far Mercy that can be really oppressive at your rank. This is especially so with her DM buff, so keep in mind there are still tons of times you can whip out D.Va to get some value. D.Va could undoubtedly benefit from more defense matrix meter, but it really teeters on her being overpowered as well if they overtune that, just like she was before. Maybe giving her an overall faster ult charge rate could allow her to get more D.Va bombs creatively. Against a lot of the new abilities such as Immortality Field or all the new shields in the game, getting value out of D.Va bombs is harder now than ever. Perhaps a D.Va that is extremely creative with their D.Va bomb use should really get rewarded for it. Moving on to the 2nd worst character in the game, Zen is another character with huge potential squandered. Unfortunately for Zen, many of the new supports overshadow him, and the new characters in the game really hurt him. Supports like Mora, Baptiste, and Brig all bring insane value to a team, and they don't require A-run target calling, mechanics, or positioning. Think about this. Mora has a fade that can easily barrel out of situations. Baptiste has strong mobility that allow him to take the high ground, not to mention he has an immortality field that can bail him and his team out of a lot of situations. Brig has 2 forms of CC as well as a shield that can protect herself. Zen has no mobility and he has no easy to use utility. Almost all of his abilities are very hard to pull off, meaning you have to be really skilled at him just to get any sort of value out of him. On top of this, DPS like Doomfist and new buffed Tracer can just eat Zen alive unless the Zen plays very scared and in their team most of the time. And even more than that, something like Hammond is just a huge menace for Zen because he can easily kill a Zen solo if he slams onto him. As Zen players get better, the problem is so do the DPS that go after him. And this scale is almost never in the favor of Zen, because the characters around him just get more lethal as you rank up. That being said, if the enemy team's not pressuring you like they should be, and you are really good at Zen from past practice, you could definitely whip him out when no counters are being played. However, I don't really think Zen is worth learning at all right now, and it doesn't look like that will change in the near future. Zen really could use some big quality of life changes. Perhaps slightly more health like 25, or maybe a global nerf to many of these problematic heroes in the game that are way overtuned could thrust Zen back in the limelight. It's unfortunate that a character that is so reliant on skill-based shots and really solid positioning is not seeing any play at all. This is indicative of a lot of the characters on our list. Unfortunately, characters like Soldier, Zen, D.Va, and Genji are all really high mechanical skilled characters, but they're being really overshadowed by a lot of the characters in the game that honestly aren't that hard to play. Characters like Reaper and Mei vastly overshadow some of these characters. It's a shame because I think most people would like much more mechanically skilled characters being towards the top of the meta tier list. Moving on to the last and worst character in all of Overwatch right now, I'm sure many of you won't be surprised, Torbjorn. Torb has gone through tons of changes, including a complete character rework. Unfortunately for Torb, none of the changes really stuck. Unless your name is Daniel Francesca, playing Torb is probably not your best bet if you want to win games of Overwatch. His shotgun makes him kinda similar to Reaper if you got no movement abilities, no lifesteal, and a huge hitbox. So essentially, worse in every way. On top of this, his slow rate of fire and hard to hit primary projectile means that he is one of the harder characters to get value out of that primary fire. His turret is basically useless against double shield, and even against standard comps, it's too fragile to get substantial value out of. Many characters in the game can easily burst it down from range. Lastly, his ultimate can only get value against comps that either don't move or play very poorly. In the beginning, Molten Core got some value, but now that people know how to play around it, it hardly gets any kills at all. Torb is in a terrible spot right now, and probably the worst hero in all of Overwatch. I'm not going to shed any silver lining with Torb, just do yourself a favor and don't play him if you want to win. Torb could probably use a complete change to his kit again because he always feels gimmicky and he's either too strong or completely useless with little in between. Anyways, this wraps up our list for top 6 worst heroes in the game. While some of these characters on the list are in a poor state, keep in mind that nearly every character is playable if you apply proper mechanics, game sense, and positioning. However, think about this time-honored phrase, work smarter, not harder, also applies to Overwatch, for those of you who want to gain SR. I hope this has been helpful or fun for you to watch. Agree or disagree with it, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. Anyways, I'm Coach Mills, and I'll see you next time. Do you want to develop yourself as a player whose skill is not only adaptable, but transcends multiple metas? Don't worry, we got you covered. GameLeap.com is the only place where you'll find skills that work you from the ground up so that you can have the solid fundamental that can transition through any meta that you can come across. Not only that, but we have hundreds of videos that stem from in-depth guides to tips and tricks that can help you be prepared to dominate your ranked environment and get that sweet, sweet SR. We're so confident that our product will help you that we offer a 10-day money-back guarantee. Come check us out risk-free in the links down below.